The battle is heating up. It's Moesha versus Stepmom.
Ooh, you're in trouble.
In 1996, a sitcom that seemed to revolve solely around teenage life exploded onto the scene and rewrote American television history, Moesha. The show not only catapulted Brandy Norwood to global stardom, but also became a life handbook for an entire generation of black teens, shaping everything from fashion and music to how they saw themselves. But the spotlight only told half the story. Behind the radiant smiles on screen were explosive arguments, power plays, unfinished episodes, and a string of tragedies that have haunted fans for over 2 decades. From the feud between Brandy and Countess Vaughn to the unsolved twist of Miles's kidnapping, the behind-the-scenes drama was more intense than any script. So what truth did the Moesha cast finally reveal? And what secrets will leave you absolutely speechless? Join us on this journey of discovery. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss the next jaw-dropping revelations. A phenomenon in American television. In 1996, American television was entering a fiercely competitive era, where smaller networks like UPN had to fight tooth and nail to survive against industry giants like NBC, ABC, and CBS. And then came Moesha. No one expected a sitcom centered on a black teenage girl to become the breakthrough that would save an up-and-coming network. Yet after just a few episodes, Moesha exploded into a phenomenon, not just for its laughs, but for the raw truths it reflected. Over 6 seasons from 1996 to 2001, Moesha aired a total of 127 episodes, drawing an average of 3.5 million viewers per episode in its debut season. By season 3, that number had risen to around 4 million, a clear sign that audiences weren't just curious, they were invested. With that success, Moesha became UPN's most-watched series at the time, effectively keeping the network afloat amid a sea of competing programs. The lead character, Moesha Mitchell, played by Brandy Norwood, was a 16-year-old girl. Smart, strong-willed, and unafraid to speak her mind. Brandy, then just 17, and already rising as a music star, infused the character with freshness and authenticity that made millions of American teens feel seen. Moesha wasn't a perfect heroine. She made mistakes, was sometimes stubborn, but grew stronger through every challenge. That relatability made young viewers feel understood and reassured. They weren't alone in their growing pains. What truly made Moesha groundbreaking was its willingness to confront topics that most teen sitcoms at the time avoided. In just its first season, the show tackled teen pregnancy, sexual pressure, racial discrimination in schools, and even aired a groundbreaking episode about a gay teenager back in 1996, making it one of the first American sitcoms to openly address LGBT themes. For many black families, seeing their lives portrayed with such honesty on television was nothing short of revolutionary. Moesha's influence extended far beyond its storylines. The show's fashion sparked real-world trends. Brandy's intricate braided hairstyles, bold crop tops, oversized varsity jackets, all quickly became staples in schools and on the streets. Character catchphrases spilled off screen and into everyday slang, shaping how a generation of black teens spoke and expressed themselves. As people said at the time, if you wanted to understand what black youth in the late 90s were thinking and saying, you had to watch Moesha. The show also earned critical acclaim. In 1997, Brandy won the N8ACP Image Award for Outstanding Youth Actress. And in 1998, Countess Vaughn received the award for Outstanding Supporting Actress from the same organization. These honors confirmed that Moesha wasn't just a hit, it was also a culturally and artistically significant piece of television. For many viewers, what stayed with them most was the show's authenticity. It wasn't one of those soap bubble sitcoms with canned laughter and glossed-over lives. Moesha told the story of the Mitchells, a middle-class black family in Los Angeles, with all their conflicts, worries, joys, and sorrows. The strict but loving father, Frank Wise stepmother Dee, mischievous younger brother Miles, and Moesha herself. Always striving to prove her worth, left lasting impressions on millions. And because of that realism, the abrupt end of the series left fans with a deep sense of loss. A show that had once led a cultural movement came to an unfinished halt. But what made Moesha legendary wasn't just its 127 episodes. It was the secrets and drama behind the scenes. The untold stories that the cast only began to reveal years later. The question remains, what really happened behind the scenes? Why did a successful series end in controversy and mystery? And what conflicts pushed the cast into dramas more intense than the scripts themselves? The answers begin with the show's most infamous behind-the-scenes clash, the quiet war between Brandy and Countess Vaughn. The silent war between Brandy and Countess Vaughn. This wasn't just idle gossip. Several cast members themselves have confirmed it over the years. Behind the laughter and bright scenes, the Moesha set was once home to tensions so intense they seemed irreparable. In 1998, Brandy spoke openly for the first time in an interview with Vibe magazine, revealing that Countess Vaughn had once called her a bitch in front of everyone on set. But the issue went far beyond name-calling. Brandy claimed that Vaughn constantly vied for the spotlight, and the praise Vaughn received from others only deepened the sense of competition between them. While Brandy was clearly the show's central figure, the heart of Moesha Countess's character Kim Parker was just as beloved for her charm and humor. Thus began a silent war. Fredro Starr, the rapper-turned-actor who played Q Moesha's boyfriend, confirmed years later that Brandy and Countess had clashed a few times on set. He described days when the entire crew could feel the tension, though the two actresses would eventually work things out enough to keep filming moving. Still, the fractures ran deep and left a lasting mark. The conflict reached its peak when UPN unexpectedly spun off Countess's character into her own show, The Parkers, in 1999. Behind the scenes, many speculated this was a smart and strategic move. Kim was too popular to remove altogether, but keeping her on Moesha had become untenable as the feud with Brandy escalated. In the end, The Parkers didn't just succeed, it sometimes even outperformed Moesha in ratings. For many, this was proof that what happened off-screen had fundamentally shaped the destinies of both series. Time, however, has a way of softening old wounds. In 2015, Countess Vaughn made a surprise post on Instagram publicly apologizing to Brandy for everything that had happened in the past. She wrote, "I'm sorry for what I did, for what I said, and I know I was wrong. I hope you can forgive me." To the public's surprise, Brandy accepted the apology with grace. From then on, a relationship once described as irreparably broken began to heal. Shar Jackson, who played Niecy Moesha's second best friend, offered a different perspective. In several interviews, she described the friendship among the young cast as wild but deeply bonded, suggesting the feud may have been isolated to just Brandy and Countess. The rest of the cast, it seemed, remained close-knit, almost like family. Looking back, the conflict between Brandy and Countess wasn't just personal. It reflected the enormous pressure placed on two young women growing up under the constant scrutiny of fame. Competition, jealousy, and the longing for recognition turned the Moesha set into a silent battleground that viewers never saw. And if Moesha is remembered as an authentic voice for Black teens, then the Brandy-Countess feud is the dramatic off-script chapter that makes the story behind the series all the more legendary. Behind-the-scenes power play. The Norwood family and the creative clash. If the tension between Brandy and Countess Vaughn was a small flame on set, then the creative battles behind the writer's table were the true storm that shaped Moesha's fate. At the heart of that storm stood none other than Brandy and her mother, Sonia Norwood. Sonia wasn't just a mother. She was Brandy's manager-advisor and a relentless protector of her daughter's career. But this protection quickly evolved into a power struggle with Moesha's creative team. Vida Spears, one of the show's original executive producers, was once seen as the creative soul of the series. She envisioned Moesha as a family-friendly sitcom centered on teenage friendship and coming-of-age life lessons. But Sonia Norwood had a different vision to turn the show into a full-blown launchpad for Brandy, taking the character of Moesha into edgier, more dramatic territory that reflected urban life and tough social issues. The goal, to both captivate the teen audience and elevate Brandy as the undeniable star. That creative disagreement escalated quickly. According to the Los Angeles Times in 1999, Vida Spears was fired from Moesha, reportedly due to direct conflict with Brandy and Sonia. Behind-the-scenes accounts claimed Brandy even requested to become an executive producer, a role typically reserved for those with years of industry experience. For many, it was clear the Norwoods didn't just want Brandy in the spotlight, they wanted control over the narrative itself. After Spears' departure, Moesha undeniably shifted in tone. Gone was the light-hearted teen sitcom. In its place came heavier drama, with unexpected plot twists like Frank Mitchell's secret child, a reveal that shocked both the cast and the audience. Some critics argued this shift marked a loss of the show's original essence. but it clearly aligned with the direction the Norwoods had pushed for controversy to hold viewer attention. Ironically, as Moesha veered into polarizing territory, Countess Vaughn's spin-off, The Parkers, quietly soared. At its peak, The Parkers surpassed Moesha in ratings and ran for 5 seasons with 110 episodes. Industry insiders saw this as a symbolic slap in the face to the Norwood family. The very character Brandy no longer wanted to work with became the breakout star of another successful series, forcing UPN to recognize Vaughn's undeniable talent. These creative disputes were never fully addressed in public. Brandy rarely revisited the details. Vita Spears left in silence. Sonia Norwood maintained that everything she did was in her daughter's best interest. But the consequences were clear. Moesha lost its original balance. Loyal viewers began to feel alienated. The show, once beloved for its authenticity, slipped into the realm of overdramatic soap opera. And so the question lingers: did these very power struggles plant the seeds of Moesha's abrupt and unresolved ending? Because just 2 years later, as ratings declined, the show was suddenly canceled, leaving behind countless unanswered plot lines, unresolved twists, and an abrupt ending. Just as fans were closely following every episode waiting for loose ends to be tied up, UPN suddenly announced the cancellation of Moesha. No thorough explanation, just a cold, blunt number. Season 6 ratings had dropped by about 8% compared to Season 5. For a young network like UPN, that decline was enough to pull the plug regardless of the millions still voting with their hearts. But what truly angered fans wasn't the cancellation itself. It was how the series ended. The final episode aired on May 14, 2001, left behind such massive cliffhangers that many viewers felt betrayed. Miles Mitchell, the mischievous younger brother, was kidnapped in the final minutes, his fate completely unknown. Moesha discovered her diary had been stolen and possibly used against her, hinting at a looming scandal that never played out. Worst of all, the script subtly suggested Moesha might be pregnant, a twist powerful enough to shift the entire storyline, yet it was left unresolved forever. Years later, Brandy admitted that even she didn't understand what happened. On a talk show, she shared her shock upon learning of the show's sudden cancellation. None of the cast had been warned. They filmed what they believed was a standard season finale, only to be hit with the news weeks later. "I remember exactly how it felt," Brandy said. "It was like someone ripped a piece of my youth away. And the fans were mad they deserved closure." There were rumors that some unfinished storylines might be continued in the Parkers spin-off, but that never materialized. The Parkers took a lighter, more comedic route, focusing on Kim and her mother, and completely abandoned the narrative threads left hanging in Moesha. Fan theories filled online forums, some speculating that the writers planned for Moesha to become a teen mom, or that Miles was set to become the center of a new plotline. But those theories remain just that, theories. This sense of incompletion made Moesha one of the rare series remembered not only for its success, but also for its unfinished ending. Longtime fans often say, watching Moesha feels like reading a novel with the last chapter ripped out. Ironically, that lack of closure helped elevate the show to legendary status, because when a story doesn't end, it lives on in the imagination of its fans. And as if that weren't tragic enough, some of the unresolved twists eerily mirrored real life. Miles's kidnapping was never explained on screen, but in reality, Marcus T. Paulk, the actor who played Miles, later faced a troubled career and off-screen scandals. The unresolved romance between Moesha and Hakeem, left dangling in the series, was permanently frozen when actor Lamont Bentley died in a car accident in 2005. These real-life events made fans feel that Moesha didn't just end unfinished, it cast a shadow that extended beyond fiction. All of this leads to the unavoidable question: were the power struggles and behind-the-scenes conflicts responsible for Moesha's abrupt and unresolved end? And had the show not been canceled, so suddenly would we have seen a proper conclusion? Or would it have simply drowned in more off-screen drama? One thing is certain, Moesha never gave its fans an answer. And perhaps it's that very silence that allowed the legend to endure. The roles that changed fates. Moesha wasn't just a career launchpad. It was often a turning point of destiny, opening doors for some while closing them for others. Shar Jackson is the first example. Few people know that Nisi Moesha's loyal best friend was originally written as a one-off character appearing in just a single episode under the name Gale. But after her debut aired, the overwhelmingly positive reaction from viewers convinced the writers to keep her around. Niecy became the archetype of a loyal best friend staying by Moesha's side until the very end of the series. For Shar Jackson, this unexpected opportunity nearly defined her entire acting career, taking her from obscurity to the spotlight. Yvette Wilson experienced a similar turning point. Her character, Andell Wilkerson, the owner of the Den Cafe, was originally intended as a minor role simply there to add comic relief to the group hangouts. But Yvette's warm, witty, and relatable performance quickly elevated Andell into an essential part of the show. By 1999, when Countess Vaughn left Moesha to lead the Parkers, Yvette Wilson was transferred to the spin-off as well. Alongside Monique, Andell continued to thrive for 5 seasons, becoming a fan favorite. For Yvette, a chance supporting role became the highlight of her career, earning her a place as one of the most beloved sitcom actresses in the Black community during the late 90s. Fredro Starr, a member of the hip-hop group Onyx, joined Moesha as Quentin Q. Brooks, Moesha's edgy hip-hop-influenced boyfriend, the complete opposite of the more reserved Hakeem. Yet after a few seasons, Q suddenly vanished. The reason wasn't a lack of storyline ideas. It was Fredro's decision to leave the show to focus on his music career. The writers had to pivot, crafting a scene where Q sells the engagement ring to support his music group, a twist that was both surprising and eerily true to Fredro's real-life path. Q left a strong impression, and his departure became a clear example of how real-life career choices could directly shape the fate of a character. Ray J. Brandy's younger brother was perhaps the most controversial addition. Joining the show in Season 5 as Dorian D-Money Long, Ray J's character came with a jaw-dropping twist. Frank Mitchell, the ideal father figure, had a secret son. The decision to cast Ray J led many to speculate that this was a family move designed to boost Brandy's brother's career. Whatever the truth, Dorian's arrival completely altered the tone of the show from a lighthearted sitcom to a more complex family drama. For Ray J, the role paved the way for his own path in music and reality television. But for Moesha, it marked one of its most divisive turns. Looking back, it's clear that Moesha's fate was deeply entwined with the fate of its characters. Some supporting roles evolved into icons, others vanished suddenly. And certain twists weren't just crafted for story arcs, but molded to fit real-life careers and circumstances. These shifts made Moesha vibrant, chaotic, authentic, and at times controversial. Above all, they made the show unforgettable, not just for the characters, but for the real people behind each role. Tragedy and loss among the cast. Many consider Moesha a symbol of youth, but few realize that the post-show fates of its cast members are tinged with tragedy, leaving fans with a deep, lingering sadness. The carefree laughter on screen years later is remembered not only with nostalgia, but also with heartbreak for the losses that no joy could ever restore. Lamont Bentley, the kind, funny Hakeem Campbell, and the fan-favorite boyfriend viewers hoped Moesha would end up with, was taken far too soon. On January 18, 2005, at just 31 years old, Bentley died in a car accident on California's 118 freeway. Reports stated his vehicle lost control, flipped multiple times, and he was killed instantly. For fans, the news was a devastating blow. The Moesha-Hakeem romance had been left unfinished on screen. And now in real life, the character that had become a part of their youth was gone forever. Cast members later recalled Lamont as a naturally funny soul who brought constant joy to the set. The tragedy didn't end there. Yvette Wilson, the actress who played Andell Wilkerson, the witty aunt and beloved cafe owner at the Den, also faced a painful end. In 2012, she passed away at age 48 after battling stage 4 cervical cancer, compounded by years of kidney disease. Her death deeply saddened fans, as Andell wasn't just a character. She was a confidant, a steady presence for Moesha and her friends throughout their coming-of-age years. In The Parkers, Andell continued to shine, portraying a woman who was both tough and full of heart. News of Yvette's passing felt like a jolt, bringing back memories for an entire generation. Beyond Lamont and Yvette, other cast members also faced hardships. Marcus T. Paulk, who played Miles Mitchell, struggled with legal issues, and a rocky career as he transitioned into adulthood. Brandy herself wasn't untouched by real-life tragedy. In 2006, she was involved in a fatal car accident that resulted in the death of a woman, sending the singer-actress into a long period of emotional turmoil. These losses have caused Moesha to be seen not just as a sitcom, but as a collective memory laced with both laughter and tears. When fans rewatch the show, they're not just recalling the vibrant stories of teenage life. They're also remembering the real-life journeys of the people who gave those characters life. Hakeem will always be the warm-hearted boy next door. Andel will forever be the wise, hilarious aunt. And Nisi Kim and Moesha will go on laughing together in memory, suspended in time, untouched by the years. Perhaps it's these real-life tragedies that have made Moesha feel like an unfinished legend. Rather than concluding with a proper ending, the show and the lives of many who shaped it were cut short, leaving behind empty spaces no fan can ever fully fill. And maybe that's why every time Moesha is mentioned, it's no longer just about a sitcom, it's also about the hearts that stopped beating and the smiles that time has frozen forever. Rumors and unconfirmed secrets fans still talk about. On forums like Reddit fan blogs and whispered conversations passed down through the years, Moesha has spawned a parallel legend, a universe of rumors and theories that have never been officially confirmed, but continue to shape how fans remember the show. One of the most widespread rumors is that Brandy and her mother Sonia Norwood pressured producers to remove Countess Vaughn from Moesha. According to some fans, the personal feud between Brandy and Countess was the real reason Kim Parker's character was spun off into the Parkers. While the Los Angeles Times once reported on Brandy's heated conflict with executive producer Vita Spears, there's no concrete evidence that Brandy directly forced Countess off the show. Still, the timing of the split and the success of the Parkers keep this theory alive in fan circles to this day. Another persistent theory involves Brandy's younger brother, Ray J. When his character Dorian Long entered the show with the shocking twist that Frank had a secret son, many fans believed this was a calculated move by the Norwood family to give Ray J a prominent role. The rumor went so far that some forums claimed Dorian wasn't part of the original script at all, but was written in to secure screen time for Brandy's brother. No official script drafts have ever confirmed this, but the way the twist dramatically shifted the show's tone and stirred controversy only fueled the speculation. Cheryl Lee Ralph, who played stepmother Dee Mitchell, has also been at the center of fan theories. A number of viewers believe she left the show not just because her character was being written out, but because she strongly opposed the storyline involving Frank's secret child. While Ralph has publicly stated her disapproval of the show's later direction, there's never been official confirmation that this was the reason she departed. Still, the theory lingers. Fans have also obsessed over scenes that were allegedly cut or never made it to production. One rumor claims the writers originally intended for Moesha to actually become pregnant, as a bold way to confront the issue of teen pregnancy in the Black community, something considered too daring for late 90s primetime TV. Another theory suggests that Miles was supposed to take center stage in a storyline about school violence, but the plot was scrapped when the show was canceled. No one knows for sure what's true, but it's this very uncertainty that gives Moesha its lasting mystique. What's fascinating is that these unverified rumors have only helped keep Moesha alive in the fan consciousness. Because when a series ends abruptly, audiences tend to fill in the blanks with their own imaginations. And in Moesha's case, those theories, whispers, and what-ifs have become part of its legend, a parallel story that blends truth and myth, remembered endlessly by the 90s generation. More than 2 decades later, Moesha remains an unfinished monument of American television. Over 2 decades after its final episode aired, Moesha continues to be remembered as an unfinished monument in American TV history. From 1996 to 2001, the series brought laughter and empathy to millions of Black teens, offering not just entertainment, but a deep cultural imprint that touched everything from fashion and language to music and self-perception for an entire generation. But behind the glamour lies another story, a tale of conflict, power struggles, and secrets never fully revealed. The silent feud between Brandy and Countess Vaughn, the backstage battles for creative control between the Norwood family and the show's producers, the unresolved twists and abrupt ending, the real-life tragedies of Lamont Bentley and Yvette Wilson. All of it combined to make Moesha a show whose off-screen drama rivaled its on-screen script. The unconfirmed rumors only fuel fan fascination. And it's that very ambiguity, those open-ended stories, that have helped Moesha evolve into a living legend in the collective memory. Because when a show leaves behind so many unanswered questions, its audience keeps discussing, speculating, and passing it down through generations. Moesha may have ended at 127 episodes, but its influence never did. And perhaps it's the incompleteness, the forgotten secrets, and missing closure that turned this series into a one-of-a-kind cultural legacy, forever alive in the minds of its fans. If you grew up with Moesha, or if you've just discovered the show through these behind-the-scenes revelations, share your thoughts with us. What do you remember most? The laughter, the fashion, or the drama that was never fully told? Drop a comment below. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you can keep exploring jaw-dropping secrets with us from the shows and stars you love. Because sometimes, the story behind the scenes is even more dramatic than what we see on screen.